you put your head down, you put your blinders on, and you charge forward, and you keep going as hard and as fast as you can, because because a lot of money is being made, a lot of growth is being had for those people who are focused. If the more distracted you are, like we were talking about before, the less you're going to get anything done. And I know some people look at me and they say, well, you got to be very distracted because you're in so many different companies. I'm not. Again, I only do what I'm good at. And then I have other people inside of my companies that do what they're good at. I really only focus on a few things.
Welcome to Seven Figure Entrepreneur Podcast, the #1 podcast for you behind the scenes with real online earners. No fake gurus here. Today we have the wonderful Chris Guerriero. How's it going, man? You are back in action. We've had you on here before. Very excited about this. We also got the wonderful Tyler Devin, looking bright in his yellow shirt down there.
Representing Florida.
Yes. I hope you have floral shirts as well. Maybe some nice press khaki shorts. I don't know.
The whole show.
Yes. Chris, welcome back, man. It's been a while. What have you been doing?
I know it has. I've missed you guys.
This is likewise.
I'm glad to be back.
Nice. Yeah. So for the people who haven't seen your last episode, how about you jump into what it is you do?
Yeah, I don't even know what I do anymore. So I have been in a lot of different industries. I'm currently, I've got 11 companies inside of our portfolio. 4 of which are 8-figure companies. One of them is a 9-figure company. We're in a variety of different industries, from online to offline, from health to legal to data acquisition to brand building, a whole bunch of good stuff.
Wow.
Damn,
a lot of dabbling.
Yeah.
Dude, you know, one thing I loved about before, man, I find so many people say like, focus on one business, grow that, but that's never been my way of life, man. And it's not your way of life either. So that's one thing I always appreciate about you, to do so many things. It's not an easy thing to pull off. I
don't know. I don't think I could do it any other way. So I appreciate the fact that it looks like magic to a lot of people, but I think that I do less than what most people do because I stay inside of my box. I know what I'm good at. Those core competencies, I try to stay inside of here. Every time I go outside of here, because my ego gets a little bit too big, I end up screwing everybody up and slowing things down inside of my businesses. So like one of the main focuses that we always have is trying to figure out what everybody's stupid human trick is, what are they really, really good at? And then making sure that they stay focused on that kind of stuff. And then we set up systems in place so that those actions that they're really good at are defined very well inside of their box on the org chart, and then just build the company around that.
Nice. Awesome, man. Damn. So as far as like your stupid human trick, what would you say that is?
Well, I think I've got a couple. I am good at growing companies. That's what I enjoy doing. So I was actually just on the phone with a good friend, and she's thinking about selling her company, and she's got a really, really successful online company. And she's like, I don't know what the fuck to do after. Ooh, sorry, excuse my language.
No, you can swear as much as you want, man.
Free zone.
So I don't know. She goes, I don't know what I'm going to do. And she goes, I'm thinking, people tell me to put my money in stocks. People tell me to put my money in this and that. And the other thing, I said, let me tell you, the first thing I did when I sold my first company was made a lot of freaking mistakes. And I lost a lot of money until I found out that really what I like and what I'm good at is building companies. So I reinvest in other companies, and I either grow my own or I'm out there and I'm growing other companies that I'm investing in. I'm a part of companies either as a owner, partner, advisor, or an investor. Those are the 4 areas that I like to dabble in. The ones in my portfolio are the ones that I'm an owner or a partner in. But I have been partners in a venture capital firm for 15 years now. And we've got over 100 successful, investments in that. And that's a lot of fun. We just started a angel firm called Boardroom Venture Group. And that gives me the ability to invest in that area also. So I kind of use my little human trick there to just grow companies. That's what I like. If I go a little bit deeper than that, it's leading. So leading people is what I do inside of each one of my companies. So The great majority of my time that I'm spending is in meetings, and I'm dealing with the leadership team in each one of my companies. And I think last time I was on, I explained to people what my weeks look like, how I spend each one of my days in order to manage companies. And that's where I am. So from 9 to 9:30, I look at my numbers, the metrics that I need to know for each one of the companies inside of the portfolio. From 9:30 to 12:30, I'm in meetings. Those meetings could be 10 minutes to 30 minutes each. And I'm dealing just with the leadership team in each one of those in each one of those companies. And we're going over basically three things in each one of those meetings. We go over what each person has accomplished so far. So today is Thursday. So we went over what everybody's accomplished so far this week. And we go over what their top 5 most important actions are to accomplish that day, so that everybody is moving the company in the right direction. And anybody who has an obstacle, we go through that, because the number one thing that slows most companies down is when one person on the team has an obstacle that they don't admit to everybody. So once we get that out in the open, we're able to push through that obstacle, and people tend to meet or exceed expectations when that happens.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Awesome, I love the structure. I feel like that's another thing you're doing a really good job of, is having just like that core consistent structure to push everything along.
Yep. Yeah, that's fun. Listen, I like it. It sounds really good. It's not nearly as smooth all the time as it sounds.
Yeah.
but my meetings are important to me, and it's what I think I bring to the table for each one of the companies.
Yeah. What about, so that's 9:30, 12:30. What does it look like beyond that?
So 12:30 to 3 o'clock, I am doing what I'm good at in each company, right? I'm pushing things forward because I'm an employee of each one of the companies. And then from 3 o'clock on, I'm hanging with my kids.
Nice.
Very cool.
Every day except for Wednesday. Wednesday is my one day a week where I do at my advisory group. So that's when I'm working with the companies inside of Club 28, which is the advisory firm. And I'm doing that from early in the morning till late at night.
Yeah. Actually, I was part of that for a while. We had a great experience. We learned so much from you from that, man. It was awesome.
Yeah, thank you. You freaking rocked, man. It was so much fun to show up and hang out and learn what you were doing inside of your company, push things forward a little bit. We like the one thing that I think was one of our most fun conversations was you flying down to meet somebody who you needed to have a face-to-face with. You remember that?
I think so.
Yeah, there was some kind of relationship, and it's something that I think it's a lesson that I had to learn the hard way, and it's something that every one of the C-level people inside of my companies, like I force them to do when there's somebody important in their life, whether it's a relationship that could get our company to the next level, or if it's somebody on their team that happens to be a virtual person that we know it would be better if we had a stronger relationship with. We literally say, listen, I don't care what you have to do, figure out when they're going to be in, free, and then magically just tell them, I happen to be in your area next week. Can I take you out to lunch, or can I take you out to dinner?
You know, what's actually funny about that, man, that particular, I remember exactly which one that is now. They spend $400,000 to $600,000 a month with us.
Yeah, man.
That's probably one of our most profitable clients. Definitely up there. Yeah. That's worked out great. I remember when I first met them, actually, they were like, it was something along these lines, like, oh, at most we'll buy maybe, I think it was 7,000 leads, you'll never exceed that. And now we're at 13,000 leads a month with them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
So that face-to-face, it crushes it for everybody.
Big time.
Yeah.
It's funny. Gabe and I actually just did a presentation for an affiliate group yesterday. And one of the biggest things was just networking, getting out there and actually meeting people.
Yep.
I know all those old school guys like to say press the flesh, but man, that shit goes so far.
Yeah, it sure does. And nobody, what we do that's really huge inside of our companies that is similar to what we're talking about right now is I think our culture is so strong because once a year I write a letter to everybody inside my company, and I let them know why I'm so handwritten. Wow. Yep, not typed up, not on a computer, not an email, not a text. I literally handwrite them a letter and I send it to them. And the feeling and the meaning of that is huge, right? That I actually took time out of my day to do that they get something that they don't normally get. Like what you're saying, face-to-face is huge because most people don't do that. Totally. Most people email, right? Yeah. And then if you're lucky, maybe you get a text, But it's not the same as looking somebody in the eye. It's not the same as breaking bread with somebody. When you're doing a big deal, we just finished the negotiation of this wonderful company. I can't wait to integrate them into our culture. But that was mostly done over lunches. Like when you break bread with people, you're able to get through all the bullshit in business.
Yeah. No, agreed, big time, man.
Yeah.
You know,
so
actually,
much easier to get insight into businesses and what people are doing face to face. Like that's why like I love going to these affiliate shows and stuff like that, because you meet all these people and maybe online you don't really get much information, or you don't have like people kind of hold their cards close to their chest or whatever. But then when you're face to face, like people are open to just share.
Yeah. Yeah. And with the secret is usually the more time you spend with somebody, the more they just all of a sudden are like, oh, you know what? Let me tell you.
Yeah.
This is why I really do this. And
yeah,
it's wonderful. You get a chance to bond.
no,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I'm like that too. Like I'll gladly give up any information. I don't care, man. I'm not hiding anything.
You give 2 drinks, get whatever you want.
Dude, you don't even need to give me a drink. I'm good.
You know, another thing that stands out, Chris, with respect to you is like just how you guys hit your goals. Like I remember you telling me, like, if we're not going to hit our goals, we acquire a company, we buy a company, we add them in, and now we have, you know, I'll let you run with the rest of it, but like the bottom line was we always hit our fucking goals. We always hit goals.
Yeah. So we're very flexible in our goals, but once we set them, then I want to be able to meet those. So we use the term meet or exceed on a regular basis inside of our companies. I want everybody meeting or exceeding expectations, and the expectations are set with numbers. Now, if we cannot meet or exceed expectations the way we planned to, then we're extremely flexible on brainstorming on new ways or better ways of doing that. There are often times where we set relatively lofty goals, and the only way to accomplish that is to absorb another company in, whether it's because they have a database that we need, or it's because they have revenue that we need, or a customer base that we need, or they have relationships like this last one that we acquired, which is in the branding industry. They had relationships that I honestly don't think we could have gotten in 3 or 4 years worth of work, but the acquisition immediately opened those doors for us, and it's been wonderful so far. And we haven't even been able to bring them fully in yet, but the fact that we're so far along, they're opening up their Rolodex to us, and
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Smart.
Dude, that's badass. Damn. And then as far as like acquiring companies, that was another big lesson I got from you. They don't always necessarily want cash.
No, listen, when you're negotiating, it's a ball of clay. Like the job is to mold that clay into whatever it is that is a win-win on both sides. And I use that analogy when I'm sitting down with somebody to negotiate, because I want them to literally think about this like we're starting from scratch. Forget about what your attorney told you. Forget about what you've heard goes on in a negotiation. Let's just figure out what you want and what I want, and then see how close we could come. And then I always go into every negotiation with a list of two columns: what I want and what I'm willing to give up. And I tell people, like, come with that. Like, if you come prepared, this is going to be so much easier. Like, what do you want? Like, tell me exactly what you want. Like, let's just wear our heart on our sleeve. And then what are you not willing to give up, or what are you willing to give? Because if I'm willing to take this chess piece and give it here, then what are you willing to give me in return? And it's got to be perceived as an equal value to me. It may not be an equal value monetarily, but it's got to be perceived that way. So a lot of our negotiations, like, I always want to know what they're going to do with the money. Yeah. Because everybody tells you, here's the number I have in my mind. It's $1 million, it's 10 million, it's $100 million, whatever the hell it is. And then I'm like, well, I don't know. What are you going to do with that? Like, that's a lot of money. What are you going to do with that? And you find out what they were going to do with it. And then I find a way to get them what they want. Like the example, this is an old example, but an example from a very long ago acquisition that we made was the dude wanted to get a boat, and he wanted to just literally live on the boat for the next couple of years. He wanted to sail around.
This one is a sailboat, right?
Yeah, exactly. So again, it's an old story of mine, but it's a great one, and it just really illustrates this well. we gave him enough money for the boat. We found out where he wanted to go. We gave him enough money for the gas to get there, and to a lot of play money. And that's all that we needed to give him. And then the rest we could give him over the course of 2 years. And we gave him more than he was asking for, but I bought myself 2 freaking years to give it. So we literally paid him a small amount of money up front for that boat. And then everything else came out of profits that we made from acquiring his company.
So it's almost like
It
loaded.
was almost like free money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing, bro.
That's so cool.
It's so interesting, dude. I feel like you play at like such an awesome strategic level. You know, more of like moving the chess pieces on the board.
Yep.
And figuring out like where can we leverage. And I remember you talking about before, if you have a health company and you're by another health company, you almost have an idea of what that database alone is going to be worth to you once you start cross promoting, and vice versa.
Of course. Yeah. Like again, every asset, you have to remember that you're selling your company to a person, and that person has some kind of core competency, and they can monetize certain parts of your company far better than you can. So if I'm buying a online health company, then I know how to monetize email lists very, very well. Like my team is all set up to be able to do this. We already have the partnerships. We already have everything. So if they're giving me their numbers for their email list, I'm grateful to see those numbers. But all I really need to know is how old are those leads? How often are you touching those people? If you're touching them, once a week, it's probably a dying list. If you're touching them twice a day, maybe it's a burn list. But there's a sweet spot in there that I know that I could bring them over, and I will sell them a heck of a lot of my stuff. I'll sell them a heck of a lot of other people's stuff. But more importantly, you've got a customer base that I'm going to sell my stuff to also, right? So I already know at least 3 ways that I'm going to monetize this deal. And I won't go forward unless I have those 3 ways, because everybody goes in saying, I'm going to acquire this company, and there's one way that I'm going to profit from this. That one way is never going to work out perfect. You got to have at least 3 ways to profit. And one of those ways may mean chopping the company up and selling it.
Yeah. Interesting. Gotcha. Very interesting.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense, because you can keep and sell whatever you want, because at the end of the day, you own it.
Yeah. So every company has a lot of different pieces. There's team, there's relationships, there's assets, there's IP, there's a lot of things. So it is a game of just trying to figure out what you have a core competency in as a company, and then how you could monetize all those pieces. Awesome. It's fun. I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. That's super cool.
Yeah.
One thing I'm curious about, you have businesses in all these kind of different markets. Do you have like a criteria that you look at before you even go after a company, or how do you decide whether you even want to be in that market to begin with?
Well, I don't go into markets. I wouldn't buy a company to get into a market. That would be very distracting for me. So I only buy a company that would be an asset synergistically to help me get one of my companies to the next level.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And we're looking at 4 different areas every single time: revenue, reach, relationships, and organization. So those are the 4 areas that I look at inside of my companies. Those are the 4 areas that I look at when we're acquiring a company, or if I'm going in to advise a company. Those are the 4 areas. And there's a lot of subsets to those, but it's always revenue, where our sources of revenue are currently, where they could be; reach, which is when I get on top of that mountain with my bullhorn, how many people are going to hear me shout, right? So how big is my reach? How big are my audiences? Are there other audiences that I could open up this company to, just if they get into the coaching program, or if I'm acquiring the company, are there other audiences that I could put them in front of? So that's reach. Relationships, we talked about already. And then organization, which is the structure of what holds that company together as we're growing, whether it's systems, processes, people, whatever.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I like that thought process of like basically acquire, build what you have now, but it does make total sense.
Yeah. I mean, you got to stay focused, man. I'm like we are all going to grow. Our growth, I would say, I guess, is limited by our ability to focus, our ability to be clear. And so you have a responsibility to do whatever you can to stay as clear and focused as possible.
Yeah.
So like I really try to avoid distractions. in
Yeah,
business.
makes sense, man. At the end
I
of the day,
can't do it
there's
in
so
my
much-
regular life, but in business, I try to.
Well, dude, yeah. Honestly, though, the fact that you have 11, like I have maybe 4 or 5 right now, and I'm finding that to be a lot. But I do find that, initially I thought 2 was a lot and so on. So it's like, I almost think capacity is like a muscle. The more you work it, the bigger capacity grows. And that consists of learning, having better strategies and ways of approaching things. But I do think of it kind of like as a muscle you have to build.
Yeah. Hey, how much of each one of those companies do you do work in, or do you have good people who are actually running the majority of the big things inside of those companies?
We've really broken up. The best thing I found lately is to really have divisions.
Yep.
So there's just different people that are responsible for those divisions. And like, that's as far as I'm allowed to go. I'm not allowed to go all the way down the line to troubleshoot all the way through. Even if I think I can solve it, that's not my job. And I got to stay miles away from it. Because man, you can get lost there for days
No doubt.
and really lose.
And you can do a lot of damage because, even if you go in there with a solution, what you just did was you pulled autonomy away from your
big
group.
time.
So they are no longer empowered to make those decisions later on, and they'll go to you. They'll default to you.
You know what I've actually noticed, man? The more I've grown, the more I've had to be comfortable with just letting go.
That's
Letting
the
go of
hardest freaking thing, though, isn't it?
Dude, it almost plays with your head because
Yeah.
you think you have to be more on top of shit, but it's like the opposite. Your team needs to fill those voids. If you're the one filling it, I have this like reoccurring message in my head lately. It's like, where am I the bottleneck? Where am I the bottleneck?
Yeah.
Cool. Like I'll stop doing legal. Awesome. We have 2 lawyers now. They can handle that. Whatever it is, where am I the bottleneck? And then get the fuck out of the way.
Yeah. Do you have in-house legal, or are these external?
External.
Yeah. So we had a company that we had in-house legal for, and it was like the best move we ever made. I mean, it definitely, you got to be at a specific revenue to make that work, but that's just a tremendous benefit once you get there.
It's interesting, man. We have our finance team is 3 people now, and just that alone has been like an absolute game changer.
They're in-house.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge, man. I'll tell you, legal's going to be next for you.
You know what? I could definitely see it, man.
Yeah. And by the way, legal is cheap when you bring it in-house compared to externally. Externally, it could be millions of dollars a year.
Yeah.
Internally, you could have a guy who is a rock star for, I don't know, $70,000, $80,000 a year.
Are you serious?
No shit. I mean, that really depends on who you're bringing in and what level they're at, but definitely. So you're looking at somebody who's got his feet wet. Like, I wouldn't want anybody who just got out of college.
Yeah.
I'd want somebody who, got their feet wet, has been in the industry for 4 or 5 years, or somebody who's looking to retire. Somebody who is really good, and they have so many great relationships that anytime they need something, it's not even like they're saying, hey, Tyler, you should call this company up because I know that they've got a good attorney to help you. No, it's they're making a phone call to John, and John is helping them out. A great attorney helping another great attorney out, and there's no additional bill for it.
I love that, man. That's awesome.
Stupid.
That's smart.
Ridiculous. 70 or 80. Man, even like $120 would be fucking.
Well, definitely. Listen, if I don't know what you're going to need them for, but you might need to go to somewhere around 120, but that's still very, very cheap. We've paid 120 for one project in legal fees, and that's a conservative estimate.
Well, man, when you're paying like $300 to $800 an hour, that stuff adds up.
Yeah, obviously that's not New Jersey prices. We just moved out of New Jersey, so New Jersey was significantly higher than that for most of us.
Well, welcome
Really
to the phone, friend.
That was an actual eye twitch that I was rubbing away when you said that.
Just the savings alone will probably buy you a house in Florida, so you'll be good. You're funny, man. So are you cool if we talk about the $100 million company? Because I'd be very fascinated to know more about that.
Yeah, well, so that's the venture capital firm. That's a asset value company. It's not like we do $100 million a year. It is an asset value company, which is just like a real estate company that says, well, we own over $100 million in real estate. That's like 5 houses,
Gotcha.
So I don't want to go out there and tell get everybody impressed by that number. It's not a huge number. It is a great number. We are highly profitable, been in business for a long time, funded a lot of freaking great companies. But I don't want anybody to go out there thinking that we're we're literally generating on our taxes $100 million a year.
Yeah, no, fair enough. So still talking about that company. So do you guys strictly focus on online businesses or
No.
any acquisition?
No. As a matter of fact, in the VC firm, I think we've funded maybe a very small handful, less than a half a dozen online companies.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Listen, online companies are not prime for venture capital at all. They're not even prime for angel funding.
Yeah.
Like, you really need something for the fund to dig into. You need a much stronger customer base. You need warehouse. You need a lot of things that we're able to grab a hold of as far as assets go.
Gotcha. Because you want true value.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, everybody's definition of true value is different. Our definition is if you disappear, like no internet marketer has ever disappeared.
Yeah.
If you were to disappear, we need something to be able to grab a hold of. Yes.
Yeah. And Gabe used to be Dave,
Here I am. Here I am.
Talking about valuations on online companies, that's kind of a space I'm trying to learn more about, is building actual underlying value in digital companies.
Yep.
You have some insights on that you could share?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, so first of all, I'll tell you that the value of an internet or a digital business is whatever the value of the investor is, right? So if the investor decides they value email lists because they have a core competency with email lists, or whatever, like whatever it is that they value, you need to position that company to be strong in that area.
Gotcha.
But I would also, with any online company, I would have IP, like a lot of intellectual property. So I was on the phone not long ago with a company that wants to sell, and they're an internet company. And they were asking me what do they have that's IP? I said, well, how many employees do you have? And they said, I have 3 employees. I said, 3 employees, you're doing $40 million a year. How do you have 3 employees? Oh, well, it's because we have these systems in place for these vendors and these systems in place for these independent contractors. So, all right, well, how much do you work? And this guy works about 4 hours a week. I'm like, you work 4 hours a week and you're doing that amount of fucking revenue. How is that possible with so few people? It's because everything is anally systematized. I'm like, that's intellectual property. Like if a company, especially an offline company, comes in and they say, we would like to be in online, you cater to the exact same target audience that we cater to, but we have no idea about how to run an online company. You say, listen, I only spend 4 hours a week here. Here are my systems. And they're all intellectual property like that. There's a massive value to that.
Interesting.
Valid.
Unreal.
That's cool.
Yeah, dude, even for just marketing purposes, I'd go out there and I would trademark stuff, because trademarks are intellectual property, or I'd patent something. Because if you go out there and patent something, even if you don't get the patent, the time frame between when you try to secure the patent and the time that you find out that you don't get it may be years. And during that time, you could go out there in your marketing and say you're patent pending, and that's going to increase all your sales. So intellectual property is amazing in many different aspects.
Yeah. Damn. Very cool, man.
Wild.
Dude, hats off to that guy who does 40 million working 4 hours a week. That's unreal.
Yeah, it's freaking, he's really a brilliant son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Can you say what niche it is or no?
Yeah, it's the help niche. It's a front end digital video program, back end membership. The great majority of revenue comes in email list, but I just defined almost every internet marketing company out there.
Exactly. Where do we begin? Very cool.
That's cool though. That's very cool.
You did a lot on the online supplement niche, right?
What was your question about?
Online supplements?
What about them?
That's one of the companies you own?
No.
Oh,
We've got companies in Club 28 that are in that niche, but I don't own a supplement company. No.
Oh, gotcha. As far as online, what kind of markets do you generally play in?
Info.
Info?
Almost exclusively info. Yeah. So we had at one time 42, I believe it was, online membership sites. All of them. No, not all of them. Almost all of them in the help niche.
Yeah.
And then our largest, most profitable one was in the business niche, where we had about 14 or so hundred folks inside of there paying us between $97 and $297 a month.
Shit.
But like a lot of the money and the organization part came in because I got very tired of running it, even though I was only working, I was doing 4 webinars a month, 1 a week. And that, that would take me 2 or 3 hours each week. And that was the majority of what they got inside of that membership. But a lot of the organization, a lot of the money came because I got bored of that. And I decided I was going to sell these protege packages, which were, we had a protege in multiple different companies or countries. We had a protege in China, protege in Canada, New Zealand, Australia, Greece, and they paid about $50,000 each. And that gave them the rights to own 50% of anything that came in their country. But out of those 4 webinars that I did a month, they had to host 2, put down the right finger so I don't flip you guys off, 2 of those, so that I would host one every other week. And then the people inside of the membership were able to get to talk to somebody inside of their country using the same language, using the same, everything. And if they ever they needed email support, it was 100% owned by the protege. So they had to support the people also. Yeah. So it was wonderful. I offloaded 50% of the work. We got paid a lot for doing it. And then all I had to do to support the proteges was once a week, I had a protege call, and all the proteges called, and I would literally help them solve all the problems that they couldn't solve for our members.
Yeah.
So it was wonderful.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Very cool. Huh. And you guys still have that, or is that something?
No. I hate to admit this, but I just got very bored. Yeah. And I ended up walking away from that company.
Gotcha. Yeah.
It was wonderful. It was a lot of fun for a long time, but I don't know. I got bored.
Yeah, no doubt.
You only live once, man. You can do whatever you want, right?
Well, I don't think that you could continue to give value when you're not passionate. And as soon as you start losing your passion and it becomes like really taxing for you, I'm fortunate that I was in a position that I had money coming in from other avenues. So I had the ability to walk away. And I just dispersed things amongst the proteges. They all kept their areas, and everybody who was left over, we distributed amongst all the proteges, and it was my gift. And everybody was still taken care of very well. The members and the proteges were taken care of very well, and I just exited.
Perfect, man. If anything, man, I feel like it takes a level of maturity knowing that the value is not going to be there. Maybe you shouldn't be either. Yeah, dude. I think that's a big part of it. It's also you as an entrepreneur need to know that you have a very small amount of mental bandwidth. And if you have a distraction that you're not passionate about, you'll never be able to put enough energy into what you're really good at or what you're really passionate about that could grow and help a lot more people. Yeah, no, I could definitely see that. Yep. One thing that kind of came to mind, man, because I was trying to think of the people who listen to this podcast, what do they need to know about? Lately, I've kind of met a whole group of guys, the younger guys, and a lot of them are like, maybe they do Facebook, maybe they do TikTok, etc. And they're kind of new. They've been to a few years and they're making, multi-6 figures a year. They're coming along. And I try to, if anything, when I meet with them or see them at shows, kind of expand their horizons to more opportunities, teach them more about back ends, owning their own products, stuff like that. Would you, if anything comes to mind, I know I'm putting you on the spot, but what would you see would be kind of a good opportunity for them to shift? Again, they have this great skill set of being able to run ads for refinance, auto, all this stuff, but they want more. They want to do more. They haven't told me, but I know back then when I was just doing that, you have good months and then you have shit months, and then you have good months and you have shit months because you're purely a lead acquisition person. You know what I mean? But there is so much more opportunity out there. There's just a matter of going out there and seeing the options. So what would you kind of say to give those people some advice? So I'd say 2 things. And I think one of them is motivating and one of them is strategic.
the motivating thing is that I was in meetings today with two different entrepreneurs. Both of them have been in business. One of them for about 2 years, one of them for about 3 years, and they both own 8-figure companies.
Nice.
So the motivating thing is you put your head down, you put your blinders on, and you charge forward, and you keep going as hard and as fast as you can, because a lot of money is being made, a lot of growth is being had for those people who are focused. If the more distracted you are, like we were talking about before, the less you're going to get anything done. And I know some people look at me and they say, well, you got to be very distracted because you're in so many different companies. I'm not. Again, I only do what I'm good at. And then I have other people inside of my companies that do what they're good at. I really only focus on a few things inside of my companies. The second thing that I'll say is that no matter what you're doing, I'll bet you there's a lot of large industries that think what you do is fucking magic. Like they don't know how the heck you do it. They don't know how you get a lead, how you monetize somebody on an email list, how you do anything. So take what you're good at and bring it to an industry that has deeper pockets. So we had my very first book was a health book, came out in end of 2003, beginning of 2004. And I had a very strong skill set in selling stuff. And I pulled that over to selling books online. And once we gained momentum, we learned a lot, right? Me and a very small team of people that I had, we learned a lot about how to locate people who are talking about what my book is about, how to position my book in front of them, and then how to sell them, right? So it's all about how to do things online. Now, long story short, we had a Club 28er in the advisory program that was a class action noticing attorney, and he was growing his law firm. And he goes, dude, what you do online is like 8 fucking years ahead of everybody in the class action field. What would you think about starting a class action noticing company with us? And I think I might have told you about this, way back.
I think it's ringing some bells.
So we had one of America's largest internet-based class action noticing firms, because we took what I was really good at, going out there and finding people online and positioning something in front of them. And, I was selling a $39 book when we learned how to do that. Our smallest contract in this industry for doing the exact same thing was $250,000.
Wow.
And that's for a 30 days worth of work. It's not for a year, it's for 30 days worth of work. So take your skill set, whatever you're really good at, and then find an industry that has deeper pockets that will pay for it because it's worth so much more to them.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love that, bro.
Yeah.
There's so many industries that are still so behind when it comes to the internet stuff, man. And it's just, I feel like there's just days and days of untouched niches and industries that you can hit with this kind of stuff. Like I feel like if you're a good advertiser, you're undervalued. Because there's just so much out there. You just have to find it.
Yeah. I think we're all super behind on a lot of things.
Yeah.
But like I may be behind on, something that you're super skilled at. And, but I may be, ahead in some things that you're not so skilled at. So, the goal is to become super clear on what you're good at. And I'll tell you, the challenge, you're talking about some of the people who are listeners of yours who are like 6-figure earners and their goal is to get 7 or 8 or whatever. The challenge is that the lower we go with where they are, like from 9 to 8 to 7 to 6-figure earners, they believe less in themselves. They don't realize that they have this super skill set.
You know what, man? As you said that, I believe that to be true. Because I feel like
it's definitely true. I just said it.
Yeah, well, not just because you just said, just like I'm thinking about the things I go after now, far more. Like I couldn't even fathom doing some of those things 2 years ago. You know what I mean? But now you almost expect it to happen.
Absolutely. And
do you think your skill sets really changed? Sorry, do you think your skill sets really changed to go after that?
As he said it, I'm like, man, just your level of belief. It's not that I necessarily doubted myself, but it was a different level of confidence for sure in the actual end thing happening.
Yeah, dude, my guess is that you could not have accomplished 2 years ago what you accomplished today.
Not
Not
at all.
because you didn't have, I don't know, maybe you didn't have the knowledge, but maybe you did, but the group, but you didn't have the confidence, you didn't have the ability to allow yourself to do that shit. So it is, I talk about track records all the time. I look for people who have track records of success and I bring them on. Like I believe that you can't trust somebody in what they think or they say, only by what they do, right? So we don't judge people by anything other than what they do. And when we look at ourselves also, we can't judge ourselves by what we think we're going to do or what we say we're going to do, because a lot of that shit's never been done in our lives. We can only judge ourselves by what we have done already. So when we look back and we say, well, are we going to lose weight? Are we going to lose that 10 pounds that have been stuck on me for freaking 5 years? Well, dude, you might think you're going to, you might say you're going to, but if you've never fucking actually stopped putting that cake in your mouth, you're probably not going to. It's the exact same thing with business. It's the exact same thing with everything else. And then every time you do that thing, every time you do the one thing that is going to get you closer to that goal, you have a win underneath your belt.
Yeah.
And if you do it more and more often, then you have a little bit more confidence, and then these things just start to happen. But you became better over those 2 years.
Yeah, big time. One thing I think about, the things that maybe would stress me out 2-3 years ago, now I would like piss on those things. They're just completely non-issues. So it's interesting just how, things almost like capacity, it increases every year. You just improve. That's interesting though, man. I would definitely agree with you. Like the level of belief they have will definitely tied to their income.
Yeah. Or vice versa.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Interesting, man.
Crazy.
Any other thoughts you have on that?
No, man, that's it.
Yeah.
What
Is there any, so I'm definitely noticing some trends online, and one of the biggest opportunities I've seen in the space is what you said before, and you actually told me this years ago, take your skill set places where there's deeper pockets. The more I've got to see some of these brick and mortar companies, the amount of opportunity I'm seeing there is crazy. I was just talking about this on the interview yesterday. There was one company we met with. They even had an in-house digital team of 3 people. They had like this huge private equity firm that funds like Dunkin' Donuts and Party City backing them, $300-400 million company. And their online game was like just so soft, man. It was unreal. Yeah, like, we were able to bring down their cost per lead from $100 to $25 just by getting them placed the Facebook pixel. Like they have literally no clue, man. Just that alone, you could sell them leads for $50, double your money, and then figure out a back end. Like there's just, or you could build your own competitor, because there's just, obviously you couldn't there because you signed an NDA or non-compete and stuff, but just the amount of opportunity that exists is literally unreal. And if anything, I feel like it's evening the playing field in a lot of ways.
I agree 100%, man. I can't even begin to tell you the number of companies that I've gone into and I sit in their boardroom and we go over all this shit, and then they start talking to me about marketing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, honestly, this is ancient. Like, I don't even understand what, like they're doing such basics. Here's a perfect example, and you're going to laugh at this because you're going to think I'm making it up. I was in a boardroom with a company that is a very large company, and the guy was their marketing guy literally was proud of the fact that he was telling me how they rank on their website by keyword stuffing. And I said, I don't understand what you mean. What do you mean by that? And I literally got a pain because he was talking about like 1990s keyword stuffing.
Yeah.
And I'm not joking. It's dead serious. So any of your listeners who listen to this and they truly believe that, well, why would any large company ever pay me to go in there and do their Instagram stuff or do their social, lead gen or whatever? When I say it's magic to them, it's fucking magic. When I get up in front of a boardroom and I'm talking to some of these offline companies, and I'm standing up there and I'm sharing shit with them, they literally, I see them just like go into this zone where they don't even believe what I'm saying is true, because it's like, wow, how would you do that? but it's stuff that you and I just,
Wild, man.
we do just regularly. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, man. Even like I know people that do like social media management for
Yep.
real estate firms, and their salaries are say 4 or 5 grand a month, but the real estate firm won't let them spend more than $20 a day on Instagram ads.
Oh yeah, I've been part of companies like this.
Like, what's the point, man? You're not going to get fucking anywhere with that.
Yep.
They literally, the
Yeah.
disconnect is crazy.
Yeah, dude, but here's, I'll give you a perfect example. I had I try to do this without sharing a name. I was part of a company. Company was in Club 28, so I was part of advising them, and they were doing several $100 million a month in revenue in selling a specific kind of supplement using TV ads. And they, in fact, I might have told you about this when you were in Club 28, but I can't share the name publicly, but I probably might have told you who it was. And and so we sat there and we talked, and we had we had wonderful conversations as we went through these meetings. And what I found was, I go, how many people are on your email list? And they said 3 million people. I said, oh, 3 million prospects, customers. No, every one of them is a buyer. Oh, no, 3 million customers. Okay.
1% of America, that's insane.
How often do you email them? And they said once. I'm like, once a week? What do you mean? Once. We send them a receipt when they order the product.
Oh, it hurts.
That's just,
it does.
so bad. Yeah.
Oh,
well, I don't even know what the moral of that story is anymore, because I just
did you get to mail that list? Did you get to see how that list performed?
So funny you ask. So here we ended up getting into this relationship where I said, hey, listen, I think that's really untapped. It's 3 million. I said, I understand it's a little bit old, and we will, but we could reactivate them. And they wanted to know how we would reactivate them. And I said, yeah. So what I would want to do is I would want to create 3 free reports, because people come to you for 3 main reasons. 3 free reports. I'll have my team write them up. No big deal. And we'll turn them into PDFs, and then we'll give them away for free. So we literally will email them for free. And if they opt in, now we have now they've raised their hand again saying, yes, I want to hear from you. And they've segmented themselves. And then we will put them through an upsell flow, and we'll resell them more of your stuff. And they said, we don't want to have anything to do with that. And however, because I didn't shut up after that. However, they said, well, we'll allow you to take the list. We'll give you the list, and we will partner on the revenue 50-50. I'm like, absolutely. We will totally take that list from you. So we did.
That's
For
amazing.
years, we managed that list, and we owned it.
That's almost a better deal, to be honest.
It was tremendously better. Yeah.
That's awesome. Dude, I freaking love it, man.
That's so
it's crazy.
funny.
You must have how much opportunity has kind of come from just Club 28 as a whole?
Well, listen, I'm very protective of Club 28. Club 28 is strictly advisory. Yeah. So I have my companies that I own, and then the venture capital firm where I'm giving money and also experience and relationships, and I'm helping them to grow, but I am owning a percentage of that growth. And then the advisory firm, it's a very small group of companies that we work with, that I personally work with in there. And they're paying to be there. Like we don't solicit. I don't offer to partner with them. I really, bottom of my heart, I mean, you were part of this. I showed up every freaking time, tried to over deliver every single time. I want to open up my Rolodex to everybody in there. My goal is that everybody in there grows. Our average growth in Club 28 right now, this year, I think is about 212% this year for everybody in there. Like we have tremendous growth rate. And I could go back, been doing this for a little more than 10 years. I could go back, and we have had big growth for all of our Club 28ers. It's fun.
Yeah.
So I don't double dip. I don't go in there and say, hey, listen, let's partner, and I'll even give you more. No, I give them 100%.
Yeah. That's awesome. Cool, what is it that you need right now, Chris? Is there anything you need from our listeners, from anyone?
Wow. You know what? Here's what I need. I just started about a year ago putting stuff out on social media. It's all pure content. There's no pitches in there. There's no nothing, but I'd like more subscribers.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that a big thing to ask?
More
Like,
follows. No, we'll plug your
go and
link right below this, and
digest
you
some
can
good
go give them a
information,
follow.
subscribe, and then like and
Yes.
comment. Like, my ask is that they get involved and they comment,
Yeah.
ask questions in there, and then subscribe. So,
Dude, if anything, that's a huge value add to them because you're just a wealth of knowledge. Like,
yeah.
you know, I remember one of the reasons I joined Club 28 because I'm like, this is the first guy that does what I want to do, runs multiple companies, and like, man, you were huge to our growth. And even, it's funny actually, stuff that you told me back then, a year later, I'm like, this makes a little more fucking sense now. So it's been tremendous. So just the fact that they get to, pop that shit to you is amazing.
Yeah, well, I'm grateful for it, and I mean, we loved having you in Club 28. It was a lot of fun. You're just a maverick in your industry. It was a lot of fun watching you blow up.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
If people want to get a hold of you, Chris, what's the best way to do so?
Social media or chrisguerrero.com.
Okay.
I'm sure that you'll put a link somewhere in there, so nobody has to butcher the spelling of my name.
We'll make it easy. Awesome, man. Well, we're coming up to the hour mark here. We might as well wrap this up. It was a good talk as per usual. Happy to have you back. I really appreciate it. Thanks for everyone listening today. For everyone watching, please do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube. And for everyone listening, please give us a 5-star review on iTunes, Spotify, or Stitcher. Yes. All right. Thank you again. Appreciate your time.
Thanks,
Later.
guys.
Bye.